This episode contains sensitive content. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Culture Podcast, where we uncover the hidden mechanics of high control groups, their tactics, and their impact. And we speak with the survivors who broke free. My name is Derek, and I'm your host.
My name is Trinity, and I'm also your host. On this podcast, we explore cult life as real people who have lived through the life-changing process of leaving a high control group.
Okay, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm, of course, Derek, and I'm here with my co-host, Trinity. Hello, Trent.
Hello.
We are really happy to have an author on the podcast with us. From what I've seen, both an author and a poet. I love seeing your poetry in the book, and also an ex-Jehovah's Witness like us. And the book is titled Best Life After. Welcome to the podcast, Correen.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So when we kind of get into these conversations, we kind of go every different way, but obviously all of us have a shared understanding. We grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses. Now your story is a little bit different because you grew up around it, and then kind of came into it later. So that's definitely going to be something I want to chat with you about. But before we kind of get into some of your history, I really want to chat about kind of where you are now in life. Who's Correen now? I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit before we kind of get started.
I'm very, very happy. Probably the happiest I've ever been in a very long time. I could be considered a retired stay-at-home mom almost because my kids are all grown, but mostly I'm just a homemaker, and I've gotten into writing, and I don't know. I have a hard time describing who I am right now. Just enjoying life and healing and relaxing, taking it
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. I think like deconstruction is a process, and also reconstruction. I
Yeah.
think it's a matter of finding kind of where you land. And in my opinion, I don't know about yours, Trent, but sometimes it's multiple landings. And so you kind of like in the moment, in this present, this is who I am. These are kind of my core beliefs and how I feel. And then in other moments, I'm going to pivot now that I have some new knowledge, some new understanding, some new joys I want to chase. Yeah. So I think it's kind of a process for sure.
I know for me, I was in for 28 years, and I've been out since 2019, so 6 years, so less than a quarter of my life. And I've gone through multiple phases of reconstruction. I still am trying to answer who I am. I think it
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah. And we're recording this right before Christmas. So we're obviously seeing a wonderful Christmas tree. And
Decorated.
so now, before we get into your background, the interesting thing I think about is someone who's an ex Jehovah's Witness or an ex Mormon or whatnot, someone that's coming out of a high control group. Some people choose to leave that kind of portion of them behind and just kind of move on. Some people choose to go into activism or write a memoir or something like yourself. So what was kind of the decision behind writing the book? And then you're very active on Instagram and TikTok. What was kind of the decision behind those things?
Well, I've always had a heart for wanting to encourage people and help people. It actually played a hand in why I even became a witness because I thought I would be helping people. But when I got out of it, I just needed to talk about the things I was going through. And at first, I didn't even name the religion because I was terrified. But then I
Yeah.
had this dawning realization that if I stayed silent, they would still control me. And I had left them because they were so controlling. So it was like an epiphany. I have to name them or they still have a hold on me. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That control and that level of fear is powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree with you 100%. Even as Trent and I do this, there's a level of, I don't want to say fear at this point, but just an uneasiness and trepidation because it's like I don't view myself as an apostate,
Right.
but it's just like we really know that they heavily create a us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
And if we remotely kind of change or deviate, you're just branded. But at the same time, it's like, I've already lost everything. I don't
Yeah.
know what else I could lose.
I have a theory on why the fear sticks so long. I think it's because when somebody makes you afraid, it targets the amygdala in your brain. I'm not a scientist or anything, but I've learned a few things about how the brain works. And when you are thinking, when your brain learns that it's life or death, even in simple decisions, it's very hard to get that out of your brain, even long after you leave the religion.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and it's I don't know, I think in general too, there's an uneasiness just about putting yourself out there online.
Hmm.
And I think with some people, I really do try to maintain a certain level. Ironically, I haven't had a lot of people come at me. I'm also not very public facing, as you
Hmm.
can see from my Instagram, but I know that there's a lot of like even J Dubs out there that try to go at you.
Yeah.
I remember think of something a while back you posted where you went into a video chat with Joe's Witnesses, and I was just astonished.
Yeah, that was an accident, actually. Somebody had sent me the video, and I thought they were inviting me to their live on TikTok. And when I got in there, they immediately went after me. So I just stayed there and let them do it. And somebody was like, "I'm recording." So I was like, "Well, save it for me. I'll put it up."
Can you kind of retell that a little bit for listeners, Trent, as well, because they may not
Yeah,
kind of
that sounds
fully know.
amazing.
Yeah, so I was on TikTok and I got an invite to a live. And I guess if you're not familiar with TikTok, you can do lives and interact with people. So I thought it was a JW live and I got in there and I was like, they were all talking with each other and I was like, where am I or whatever? And they said, "Oh, it's another XJW." So they start going to my profile, pulling up all of my videos and just saying the worst things about me possible, like my shorts, my tattoos, my, making fun of my expressions. And I was just like, wow, you guys are so very Christian. This is amazing.
Yeah, they like kept going at it. They were laughing at you, and I mean, to your credit, you maintained a very good level from what I saw. But it's just like these are supposed to be people that are loving, and
Yeah.
it's just like, man, the moment they had an opportunity, they just attacked.
Yeah. I've seen a very ugly side of supposed Jehovah's Witnesses online, especially. I post more on TikTok than Instagram, and I have blocked so many. I honestly feel bad for them when they finally wake up and leave. They won't have access to my content because,
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like they're not supposed to talk to apostates. I feel like there's kind of a softening where a lot of witnesses feel like they can, and maybe
Mhm.
they're trying to do activism themselves, but back towards witnesses. But I think there's also a lot of XJWs and people that come out of high control groups or cults that are also pretty nasty. Even the
Yeah.
XJWs. It's it's like you got to kind of watch yourself when it comes to that as well.
I agree. I kind of take that with a grain of salt because I kind of can stand back and be like, maybe this person needs to be angry for a while, but I don't have to be a part of it. And maybe this person just still has that mentality. They've been told their whole life that they have all the answers and they're right, and they might have just flipped and they still have that thinking. I try not to let it phase me, but I have blocked a few people and removed a few people just to kind of get away from that energy and let them run that course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we talk a lot about the phases of coming out, and the anger phase is usually one of the first and can be the longest, and some folks never get out of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going to say, too, real quick, Derek, I think it's crazy because, like, back in the day when you were told don't talk to apostates, you just didn't talk to that one crazy person outside of the convention. And that was as easy as it was. Like, okay, it's pretty easy. I'm not going to talk to him. Nowadays, to not interact with, not talk to apostates on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, it's really hard. They're everywhere now. XJWs are everywhere online, and I almost feel like they're being forced to start. There's like a reckoning of
Hmm.
like
Mhm.
there's a lot of these people out here, and it's maybe a self defense mechanism to attack and be nasty because they realize we're in the same space. We're in the same a lot of the same spaces now.
Yeah, I feel like I started like a year and a half ago, maybe, and I only found a handful of XJW online, and then it just blew up. And there are so many, I can't keep track of them all. Everybody's
Yeah.
speaking out, and it's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It's great to know that there's a community forming of people that have come out of this stuff, and I guess it's my hope and Trent's hope, and I would assume your hope as well, is just to try to be available for them and just show that life can be better after,
Right.
and that you can live your life, and the devil hasn't got us, and life's pretty great. It comes with challenges, obviously. It's not science shining rainbows all the time, but you can get out of this thing. And even with loss, you can still find a way to move forward and have a happy life. I
And
do want to talk. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, honestly, that's one of the things I get accused of, and other XJW get accused of the most, is that we're trying to deter people from Jehovah's Witnesses, or we're trying to get people out. And while that may be the motivation for some, honestly, I only wanted to be on there because I knew how much I suffered when I left, and how much
Hmm.
comfort it gave me that other people were out there giving me good thoughts and helping me cope with what I was going through. So I just wanted to put it out there also. It really doesn't have anything to do with people who want to stay witnesses or people
Yeah.
who want to join it. Everybody's got to go their own path.
Yeah. You can't wake someone up. They got to do it in their own time. And yeah, they have to kind of follow their path. I think my hope is I'm never forcing this content on everyone. You're the one clicking play or clicking on it. And if you're in that right place and time where you're in the right mindset where you want to kind of take this in, then here we go. And I also know, and also from some of the chats that we've had, it can be scary. I was shaking with some of this stuff, kind of starting to learn like, oh, this isn't real.
Yeah.
And I know we've had guests on as well where it was almost like you were like when you go on some of these websites online, it's like you got to look away, like you're looking at something graphically intense. And it's like, no, these are just words.
Yeah.
And it's so scary because your reality is shifting. And yeah, so no doubt it's tough for everyone. So for anyone listening, yeah, I don't know, just know that we've been through it, we understand, and this it takes time, but we're just happy to have another survivor on with us. And you definitely had quite the story. Your book starts out with, which I think is great because I think I don't know, sometimes people say like some of their trauma starts and it's more specifically about being in the kingdom hall and this and that, but your some of your trauma actually started early because you
Mhm.
came into the religion later in life.
Yeah.
Can you
Me
kind
too.
of describe some of those early moments, just kind of growing up and some of the things you touch on in your book?
In my book, I basically make a correlation between having a childhood where I did not get free love from my parents, I did not get safety, and I learned young that love was earned and love was suffered for. And that's why it didn't dawn on me until I was in the religion, loving my own children, for me to wake up and realize what was happening. But I'm not really sure what to say about, I guess. I
Can
kind of lost
you can you tell me what your life was like from the ages of like 5 to 10?
my Okay, so I lived with my father mostly when I was growing up. He was not the best of fathers. My mother rejected me pretty early on for her own trauma, her own reasons. So, about the time that I was 9 years old, I ended up living with my grandmother. And while my grandmother was a good caregiver, in the sense I got to the dentist, I had all of my things that I needed taken care of, she was very punitive, very critical, very abusive. I was I went through things called, they called them bear hugs. They were
Mm,
supposed to be when a child is struggling emotionally and is out of control, the parent or guardian lovingly holds the child until the child calms down, because the parent holding them is supposed to make them feel safe. But my grandmother used them to get her aggression out. So after she had a stressful day, she would find something, anything to be angry with me about, and she would sumo wrestle me to the ground. And we had some very unpleasant experiences that I write about in the book. And this happened constantly and regularly, daily, all the way up until I was like 16 years old. And the whole time, my parents were not even showing up for the visitations that they had on the weekends that they had. So it was a lot. It was a lot of abandonment, a lot of not being good enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
abuse, it sounds like physical
Yeah.
abuse and mental and emotional, lack of emotional support.
Yeah, I had to have a therapist tell me in my 20s that that was abuse, because it actually didn't even dawn on me until she was like, that was abuse. And I'm like, oh, I guess it was.
Were
Yeah.
your
So,
parents religious at all? Sorry to
My
interrupt.
mother was a witness before I was born, but she was in and out of it. She was not consistent. She was in and then she was out and then she was in and then she was out, but she never really had custody of me because, as I said, she rejected me. And so I didn't even really know what Jehovah's Witnesses really believed until I got older in my 20s and learned from my sister. But my father was not religious at all. He just drank a lot, chased women, and did his own thing.
I feel like if that's the life that you only knew, talking about some of the abuse, like you don't realize it's abuse. It's like that's just all you've ever known. You're kind of it's just ingrained in you. It's like this is just how life is. But then like you step away and you're like, oh, life could be different. This is abuse. Oh my gosh. And then you start to unravel and kind of go down that. You also like the interesting thing is your sister was a witness. Can you kind of talk about the dynamic you had with her growing up? And then there's also like she's trying in her way to send people to your door to convert you because she cares.
Yeah, the whole thing with my sister, she would come and live with my father to protect me because I was not safe when I lived with him. We lived over a bar. He let random men come sleep on the couch when they were drunk, even though we were nearby. So she would come live with him, even though she hated him and he physically abused her. And then when I ended up with my grandmother, she got sent to a foster care for protecting me, because when my grandmother tried to give me bear hugs, my sister would attack her. So she was ruled as unruly and got sent off to foster care, and also was completely neglected by our mother and father. And she ended up dating a guy who was a witness when she was 18, but he was an inactive witness. And so she ended up becoming a witness and then constantly was trying to convert me, would send me novel length text messages with scriptures that I wouldn't read. And it wasn't until I was very, very depressed in my 30s that she started sending them to my door. And I think that I was just vulnerable at that time because I was like, want to end my life depressed. And I think I was vulnerable. And she sent them. And because I was nice to them, they kept coming. And eventually I let them in and they did the love bombing thing. So,
Yeah. I feel like there's a parallel there, like your sister with how she grew up, latched on to the Jehovah's Witness faith, and then you grew up around it with other relatives, but it's just like okay, maybe this is the answer to solve the problems from the trauma of my early childhood.
yeah.
And then the witnesses come a knocking. I think that's a shady ass move to call the witnesses over to your house. Did she use the website to like
She
just like
called
your
the Kingdom Hall and told them that I wanted a study when I never said that. Of course, they were so excited because how many people actually want to study? Most of the time, they're just knocking on doors trying to get their time.
I
I'm curious, what kind of people did they send? Like an older
Um,
sister?
most it was an older couple that came to my
Yeah.
house, the one that I inevitably ended up studying with, and they were very nice, and she gave me lots of her time. But the second that I was dunked underwater, she had other things to do.
Oh yeah. A spiritually mature couple, they were ready for you to count their time and their
Yeah.
hours and get a Bible study on their card and
Yeah, me sitting here thinking this woman is giving me so much of her time and being so generous because she was spending like 2 hours a day, twice a week, me after I'm a witness realizing this was the best thing ever for her. She got to
Oh,
sit in a warm home and just have a conversation.
oh
She
yeah.
wanted to be there because she was a pioneer and needed her hours.
Yeah, she could count her hours. She got a return visit. She got a Bible study. It was
Yeah.
like, this is the trifecta here.
And the fact that
Mhm.
it weaned off after you got baptized is
Oh, for
really
sure.
telling. That really sucks.
No, it did. It actually broke my heart. It felt like rejection all over again because I thought I mattered so much to her and then realized I did not matter as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, it's like she had to have known through many of the intimate conversations you guys had, what you needed,
Hmm.
and was there up until, and it's like now all of a sudden, just because I've been dunked, all of a sudden, I don't need this spiritually mature person.
Right.
Yeah, you've talked about your congregation you did go into being pretty loving for the most part.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't get that. But I do, before I forget, I remember randomly clicking request a Bible study when I was inactive for a time, not really realizing on the website, not really realizing what it meant. Uh, and then randomly one day, a brother just came over and was like, "Yeah, someone requested a Bible study," and I was like, "Oh no, I don't want that." Like, and I shoot him away, but he bothered me for a little bit, and then yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting. So now there was a section of your book that is, I don't know, I find really interesting, and I'm curious if we're at that point, or if it's a little bit later in your journey. But you had, and I approach this very much. I'm a very open person about the possibilities of what life is or could be.
Hmm.
I've mostly approach it from a logical or kind of scientific method, but I understand there's crazy shit out there. You
Hmm.
you had quite the experience, with something that you maybe believed to be like a demonic experience.
At the time, for sure, I thought it was a demon. And as much as I don't rule out that it was just psychosis or something like that, there's just, I can't believe that. And if you read that chapter about my experience with whatever the heck that was, you can see that I'm being very logical. You can see that
Mhm.
I'm because people in psychosis have no idea they're in psychosis. They'll say things that on a normal day they would never say. And then there was things that was happening outside of myself. I honestly have no idea what it was, but I don't think that it was a demon anymore.
Yeah. Are you able to kind of delicately talk about that? And what I wish is when we have these conversations, like, I want people to read your book. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, it's really important to hear it, from your mouth, every word on the page. But are you able to kind of talk about that a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it. I know it's such a weird subject because people, that's why I tell you at the beginning of that chapter, filter this through your own experience. If
Yeah.
you're an atheist, call it psychosis. If you're
Yep.
religious, call it a demon. If you just believe you don't know, whatever, then it was an entity. Do whatever you need to do with it, but this was my lived experience, and it doesn't change my lived experience. But yeah, that was one of a big reasons why I bought into this religion, and I do not think that I would have without that experience. I
Yeah.
think I would have stayed rational had I not had this supernatural encounter. So, where to even begin? I um, was sitting on my couch one day, and something started to physically attack me, and it knocked me around in ways that defy gravity. So you would think, like, if you have a body twitch, that you're gonna jerk in a natural way. But I was being like, it felt like being slapped upside the head, and my arm yanked down, and there was even molesting that was happening while it was going on, and it was just like, it scared the ever living daylights out of me. And of course, when I ran to the witnesses and my sister to tell them I'm getting attacked by this thing, it was like yanking me down the bed at night. It was giving me sleep paralysis, all these different things. They said, "Oh, it's a demon. You're being attacked because you can take it. You have to stand up for Jehovah's name." And I was like, "What?"
So was this while you were studying?
Yes. So yes, I had just started studying seriously, and this happened. And so I thought I remember walking in my backyard because I got up and started walking because when I started walking, at least the worst of it stopped. So I'm walking and then I'm thinking, "Oh my god, demons are real. That means angels are real. That means the Bible is real. That means this is the truth." Because at that time, I also had the skewed belief that my personal experiences make reality. So,
Mm.
to try to explain that, there's a lot of people out there, you'll tell them your beliefs are different and they'll be like, no, because I had this experience, this means that this is the truth because I had this experience, and they think everybody's having the same. But I
Hmm.
have since learned that your personal lived experience is not, because people experience these things in all different kinds of faiths, all different kinds of beliefs, but this was what I had in this place.
I've heard of even something like this happening because the gas has been left on.
This
Like
happened for like all 7 years.
yeah. But the only reason I say that is if that were to happen and you were, diehard Christian, that's what your brain would lead to.
Right,
You know what I mean? If you were a diehard atheist, you wouldn't lead to thinking it's a demon.
right.
You would lead to like, oh, what kind of psychosis is going on? Like, why am I hallucinating? So I do agree with you. It's like your lived experience is going to shape what that means for you.
Right.
But I do remember when I was reading that, I find it very fascinating. Do I guess my follow up question on it, when you experienced this, you had mentioned that you were pulled out of the bed. Did your husband see you being pulled out of bed? Were things seen?
What is weird about it is he did not see any of it because it wouldn't happen until he would leave. So the thing is, he
Mm.
worked a lot of wild hours. Sometimes he would get up at 3 a.m. and go to work. And I would be left alone as long as he was there. And then the second that he got up and went to work, I would start getting harassed and I would see like black shadows creep. I mean, I watched Black Shadow go from my dining room all the way up over my bedroom door and creep into my room through the ceiling like liquid. It
Oh my
was wild.
gosh.
But then I had other things happen, like books coming off the shelf, doors opening themselves, my children telling me they were having similar experiences, them hearing their name called. So it wasn't just me either.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was one of the follow up questions I was have because I know you mentioned in your book that your children experience similar things as well, and
Hmm.
so that type of data goes to show like it's what's happening.
Yeah,
And that's genuinely like any person, in my opinion, that's going to be a very traumatic, scary experience.
it's actually
uh
funny because when I finally started to leave, one of the witnesses said, well, maybe it wasn't a demon. Because I was like, why would God, why would Jehovah want me to suffer this for all freaking 7 years? This is ridiculous at this point. What kind of God is he? And they're like, well, maybe it's not that. Maybe you should go get checked mentally. Well, if it's a little
yeah.
late.
Well, and I'm curious your take on this, Trent. I remember another thing I was reading when I was reading that portion of your book. I kind of felt like demons were never real to me being a witness. Like it was stories in the past, but like there was never any demonic proof in my entire 40 years of life, other than, these funny stories about, things, being inhabited by demons and yeah, you got to toss them all out like you had to do. But um, I don't know. I just felt like it's weird. It was weird for me to hear that they were so adamant that this was a demon,
Mhm.
which then also became weird because, of course, that's the belief. But I just felt very mixed about the whole, I don't know, thought of demons being the answer that they gave you. What was your thought, Trent?
Well, there's a reason why I'm agnostic. I mean, we grew up in the same area in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is right next to the Indian reservation. And my family has lived in Arizona near the res my whole life. From my family, who are all very anti witness, we've had lots of shared experiences of like supernatural events. My Native American friends, who some of them were witness, some of them were not, who didn't know each other, were telling me very similar stories of events that have happened on the res. Like, there was an elder who, I mean, I was 9 maybe, and we're in Winslow, Arizona. And it was late at night. It was like this big gathering that we had had. This elder, who was really respected, he might have even been like the presiding overseer, and two other brothers and one of their sons were having this like really intense conversation that I happened upon. And they genuinely 100% dead ass were telling a story of two brothers that they knew, who they also respected, who were up on the reservation and legitimately felt that they got chased out of there by a skinwalker.
Mhm.
And they basically had went to a shaman's house unknowingly, and the shaman started basically saying, before they even came up, he was like, I know you're Jehovah's Witnesses. I already know, like, my gods and your gods don't mix. I want you the fuck out of here. And they basically were kind of shocked, but they didn't leave. They were trying to be nice. And they claim that a skinwalker, like, it was a dog, and it was huge. It came running out from behind the thing and turned into a skinwalker and chased him off.
Mm.
And I like multiple times was like, are you guys messing with me? And they swore up and down,
Mm.
um, my own family, like blood relatives that were Jehovah's Witnesses, my whole life have told me that they were molested sexually by demons or something similar, that they had seen things like the shadows, the sleep paralysis, and stuff like that. And I had another relative who was not by blood, um, whose whole family household was experiencing stuff. And like we were dating, and there were times where she would call me and be like, there's something in my closet, there's something in my basement, the house that I'm talking about, Derek.
Yeah. So that's why you land not atheist.
Right. Like,
Like there could be something out there.
there could be something. And the thing is, when we say it a lot, it's like, hey, we're neither, we're agnostic. There could be a lot of things out there, but there really could be. I don't think that all these people were mentally unwell. I don't think all of them were lying. I know certain ones of them truly, really believed what they were saying,
Hmm.
and I can't explain it. I
Where do
don't know
you
why.
where do you land? I think you've been out since 2024 officially, Correen.
Yes, 2024 officially.
So where do you land now with this? Where do you kind of see yourself spiritually and kind of what your beliefs are?
I I had a therapist and I talked with them, and they really brought a good point about, can you not have all the answers and still be okay? And that was
Hmm.
a wake up call for me. And I started to realize, you know what? I don't have to have all the answers anymore. I can rule out the things that I know for sure I can rule out, and I can just keep my mind open. So I'll talk about belief systems like they're real, but I'm always speaking speculatively and open mindedly, ready to learn more information that could shift where I am now. So I
Hmm.
kind of believe right now, possibly, we're all just souls having different experiences, and there's a reason why not every one of us have the same experiences, because we all came here to experience different things. So I feel like we're all just different people looking at a statue from different angles. Some of us
Oh
get to
yeah.
see it from more than one angle. Some of us only spend looking at it from one angle our whole life. But ultimately, I'd like to believe that, you know, maybe God is just curious. Maybe we are God having an experience. I don't know. I lean more toward the positive and just
Yeah.
keep my mind wide open.
So I have a question. Have you ever experienced anything clearly divine? Like, we're talking about, at that time you experienced this as like maybe a demonic event. But have you ever experienced anything that you felt was clearly divine?
I mean, at the time, I thought I would feel Jehovah's Holy Spirit, and I had him. A lot of my prayers answered when I first came in. For me, I felt like I was also loved by this God or whatever it was. I mean, I've had lots of supernatural experiences in my life. I don't know if I could call any of it divine. I just do kind of feel like at the end of the day, no matter what I've been through, I have been led on this path. Like, it felt like when I became a witness, I almost had no power over it. It was so compelling. And when I came out of it, it felt like I got shoved over a waterfall. Also, like, this is what you were supposed to do because you could put this into words to help somebody else heal. So I just feel led. I feel like my life has a direction. I feel a calling. But beyond that, I just got a few woo-woo experiences, and I do consider myself very logical. Like,
Mhm.
I no matter what I've experienced, my first inclination is not going to go to something, supernatural. It's always going to be grounded in logic until I have no other logical explanation.
It actually comes to mind, like, you know, I have this random thought that if there is a creator, he has created the reality that we need in this moment.
Mhm.
So if you find yourself landing more logically, he's going to give you data and science to prove your reality that you need.
Mhm.
If you find yourself being more spiritually inclined, he's going to give you different avenues that route. And obviously it's just a theory, but we just don't know. But I do land where you land, and I think it's a healthy position. Like, it's okay not to know. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just try to live your life, try to explore, be curious. Um, the world has so much to offer. Now, I did have a question about, once you finally decided to go down this path, study, get baptized. How was the family interactions during that time in your life?
Well, I'm lucky and blessed I have a decent husband because it was very unpleasant for him. He did not agree with it, and he drank a lot more bourbon that first year that I studied. He was torn because, on one hand, he felt like I'm an adult and I have the right to figure things out. He never tried to control me, but on the other hand, it was robbing him of things like, holidays and things that we had in common. We used to go get tattooed together. We used to watch certain shows together. But now I was so burdened and afraid of most of the things that we used to do, I couldn't do it. So he would give those things up just to be around me. Like, he wouldn't watch the shows that scared me. He would just give it all up. So he made a lot of sacrifices. But with my children, they were little at the time. I mean, I think my oldest was 11, um, and my youngest was not even 2. And I did a few things that the witnesses didn't agree with. I didn't feel it was right to force my children to become witnesses because of an experience that I was having. It seemed, ridiculous to force it on them, that it would never take if it was forced on them and everything they loved was taken. So I gave them a choice, but I made them learn about it. So some of my kids celebrated the holidays and some didn't. But if we're being honest, moms generally make holidays. So when mom stops the holidays stop. So
Yeah.
everybody kind of struggled. My kids were excited. Some of my kids were really excited about it for a while, but we've also raised very free thinkers who are allowed to communicate, and they voiced their thoughts. And I mean, my one daughter, Lyric, she is the deepest thinker and deepest questioner, and she was asking people at the congregation things when she was 7, like, if we're supposed to love our enemies, then why don't we love Satan? So, needless to say, she didn't stay interested in Jehovah's Witnesses for long because she thought too clearly to continue to buy it. But
Isn't it so interesting that children have sometimes the best questions?
From
yeah,
the mouth of babes,
Yeah.
yeah.
just like Jesus said.
Hmm.
And then what about your sister and some of your caretakers growing up?
Well, my sister, of course, was thrilled when I became a witness, and we were never closer than we were for the time that I was a witness. It was actually really sad. She is the one that I feel like I lost. I didn't have to lose as many as some people who were raised in it and their whole family are in it, but losing her when I left was very hard. I mean, I think people used to tell me that I was what a witness ought to be because the way that I witnessed was not pushy because my sister was so pushy, and I was very careful and calculated. Um and I tried to not shove it, and I tried to make Jehovah as endearing as I thought that he was. So overall, I didn't really make too many people upset, but there were still a few. I mean, my husband has family that was very scared because they were raised that Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. So they really rejected it. They were like, she has caught a demon. I'm like, well, maybe
Mm.
I did, but anyway, yeah, there was a lot of different dynamics with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And are you with your husband still?
I am.
That's amazing. That
He
is so
stayed through it
rare.
all. Yep.
I'm glad
Yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah. What a good dude.
Because he must have been through a lot, honestly. Seeing you adopt the religion and then losing it is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like he really loves you.
I'm
Yeah, we were
curious.
together 10 years when I became a witness, so it was
Wow.
Excuse me.
not on the radar for him.
And you were in for 7 more?
Yep.
I'm curious what your memory is about. I kind of felt like they always had the unbelieving mate kind of syndrome, the
Hmm.
unbelieving mate kind of conversations, especially maybe with some of the other sisters. Did you recall having any of those kind of feelings or vibes about having him kind of come and join you so you're not just a single sister at the hall?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I definitely wanted him to be a part of it because I was, scared for his eternal life and I wanted him forever. But I tried my best to know when to shut up.
Mhm.
So basically, I would try to witness to him, and when I could sense that he was getting agitated, I'd drop it. Or I'd wait for good opportunities to try to win him over. But yeah, he would let me know when he had had enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really wanted him to be a part of it with me, and it was hard being a not a single sister, but there by myself. And let me just say, brothers are so inappropriate. They are so inappropriate. They are so inappropriate with their hands, with their language. Like they use the excuse of, "But I'm your brother." Like it's okay. They gaslight you, but they made me so uncomfortable so many different times.
Brothers in your hall, like just the long back touches.
That and like one brother who was greeting you when you got to the Kingdom Hall, he reached out and grabbed my arm where his hands like literally brushed my chest. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? When another one kissed me on the cheek, and I promise you, if my husband had saw that, he would have been livid. He would not have been down for that. I actually, you know what I did about that? It's kind of hilarious. So this brother kissed me on the cheek, and I didn't want to call him out directly. So I called another elder in the congregation and I told on him, but I didn't tell him who the brother was and I didn't give the details. So they just ended up having this whole elder meeting on it. And they ended up
Oh,
talking
wow.
about it in the congregation. And the brother would look at me really side eyed, but he wasn't sure if it was me that had told on him.
I love it. I love it. They had a
Yeah, I love
special
that.
needs just about your experience.
Oh.
So you're in the congregation, you're baptized. So what was the length of studying to baptism? How long did that take?
I mean, well, they came for a while, but I studied seriously for about a year. I think they started coming when I was pregnant with my daughter. I didn't actually take it seriously for like maybe 9 months. But then
Mhm.
when I did take it seriously, I studied for a year and got baptized.
And then, coming out of the water and kind of like this is my new life path, from what I could tell you really truly believed.
Hmm.
You were in. What was kind of the experience when things were good?
Um, I mean, honestly, the good was short lived. Um, I was just very zealous, and I think the first couple years were probably the easiest and the best. Um, but the load just started being so much that I mean, I just felt like I was having panic attacks all the time because they gave me so many things to be afraid of. And as a perfectionist and somebody who associated earning love with, and they would encourage that, they would also, affirm that. No, you have to keep doing more, you have to keep doing better. And these are all the things you're doing wrong. It was, it was exhausting and
Yeah.
draining and I was hanging by a thread because I was also carrying the full weight at home with my children. I had
Yeah.
to get them all to the meetings on my own. I had to do family worship. I was homeschooling. I had to do all the Bible studies with them. I had to save everybody. I had to save myself, and I had to save all my children, and I had to save my husband, and I had to save anybody that I even came into contact with. So it was exhausting.
It's yeah. It's exhausting even if have a partner that's helping like do all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Much less having to kind of take on kind of the spiritual headship for all the kiddos. So your kids did, and they went with you, even though they kind of didn't really believe.
Yeah, I my oldest didn't, but my three girls, I made them go to the meetings with me. At first, my husband didn't let our youngest go to the meetings because she was too young to say she wanted to go. But I guess I could say I was pretty good at being sort of gently manipulative. So I figured out a way to trick him into saying that she could go. So at some point, I had all three of them going. Um, I wanted them to at least sit there and learn, but I mean, they'll tell you. I still pressured them and stressed them out. Um, I feel like I'm able to be such a better mother now that I'm out because I don't have to be afraid of everything and be helicoptering them and worrying about every minor thing they do.
The fear is real. It's
It's
real.
one of the
Yeah,
biggest
we
issues. It's like the fear and the shame. The fear and the shame is one of my biggest, is probably one of the biggest reasons why I was like, I'm so done with this.
we talk about it in almost every podcast because the fear is such a easy method of control,
Mm-hmm.
and especially for people who are meek and mild and sheep like I would consider myself like that. They target people who want to do good, which I was trained to do from when I was a kid. And it's really a shame how they use that against us, and it leaves lifelong scars. Like I still sometimes worry about Armageddon,
Yeah.
and it's been years, but I still have the fear ingrained in me of, it's just crazy. And then I had a friend who left. He was never baptized, but he stopped going, and I was always witnessing to him when I was in. And I got out in 2019, and he was out, so we were cool. And the coronavirus pandemic of 2020 happened, and that was it for him. It triggered the latent fear
Yeah.
of Armageddon within him. He went right back and became a brother. He got baptized, during the pandemic,
Mm.
all out of fear, so it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah.
um you had mentioned something, or we mentioned it earlier, that I really identify with, and I want to hear your take. I One of the reasons I left was because my daughter was born in 2015, and as soon as she came, I like immediately I was like, oh my God, I love her more than God has ever loved me,
Mm-hmm.
because I cannot imagine punishing her the way that God has punished people in the Bible, or that he would punish me.
Yeah.
And if this is all true, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And it made me go back and look at everything that I had ever learned from the witnesses. And I got really deep into Jesus's love, and how Jesus's love is portrayed in the Bible, and how very different that was from God's love in the Old Testament. And it just led me down this path of realizing, oh my God, the Bible is bipolar. I don't know whether it's Jesus's love or God's love, or whose love is it, And then, because I was going through such a hard time, I was really depressed as well. And so I grew a beard. I was having anxiety at the meetings. I was just really depressed. And I decided growing out a beard was a way for me to just kind of hide my face a little bit. It helped me psychologically. And I cannot even express like how everyone around me just evaporated. It
Because
was
of the beard.
crazy because of the beard. And now they can have them. But at the
Yeah.
time, I wrote letters to Bethel. I was talking to circuit overseers about it. They took my privileges. I was livid. And the whole time, the crux of my argument was, this is an unloving thing you're doing to me. This is the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of how Jesus was. Saying all that because it sounds like you had a similar realization, and maybe that helped you leave too.
Yeah.
So tell me your thoughts about that.
Well, absolutely. coming to the realization of how much I love my children was a wake up call, especially because my children were getting into adolescence, and that is when they challenge their parents and they do the things that the parent doesn't want them to do, especially if you are strict with them. I feel like that drives them to even want to get into trouble more. So them doing all these things and me realizing there's nothing they could do that could make me not love them. And most of the mistakes that they could make in life would only bring concern for them, not anger and, get out of my house or whatever. Um, it was absolutely, and I write a lot about it in the book, in poems, and in chapters. Just you realize by the love that you have for your children that this doesn't make sense. Because Jehovah's love, if you look up any psychology on parenting, Jehovah's love is everything you're not supposed to do. Like how Jehovah parents is everything that is not healthy in parenting. But and if you look, well, how to word it? I just know that with loving my children, there's nothing they could do. I would never give up on them. I decided to have them, my if all things were possible for me, I would do everything within my power to help them. I would not just throw the towel in and give up on them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's I don't have children, but I imagine it would be a very similar tough experience where you start to question those things. And it's like I guess I just wonder how parents don't inevitably always end up that way and then go, I'm out. Like it always seems to be the equation always goes like, I'm not, no way. It's always my child over, whatever kind of man-made rules are set up. But of course they believe it's from God. So that's the
Well,
challenge.
and it becomes a paradox where you may feel those things, but then if you do believe, if you're a true believer, the only way to save your child forever is to parent them the way Jehovah wants you to,
Right.
right? And so it's like you corrupt your own natural impulses
Your own
and
compass.
Stockholm syndrome yourself into parenting the same way that Jehovah parents you, which sucks. But I think that it comes from a place of love, allowing yourself to be gaslit into treating your kids the same way you're being treated by the congregation.
Yeah.
Well, like if
So,
sorry,
oh,
if
go
you have
ahead.
to shun your child because your child gets kicked out, they capitalize on the fact that that will be hard to do, and they praise the ones who make this sacrifice, and they highlight the ones that willingly shun their kids because inevitably it's going to bring them back and it's going to save their life. So it causes them, even if they have deep love for their children, to completely reject how wrong it feels because they think it's all about saving their life. It's about everybody being in paradise one day.
Yeah, it's like ultimately the whatever trials you'll face now, whatever tribulations, if you just remain faithful when you finally die,
Hmm.
you'll wake up and you won. You get to paradise, you get to the new system of things. And I think the crux is always like, I don't know, I guess with my mind, it's like until you start asking the questions, you genuinely believe that. But it's like, but then you start to go like, where's the proof that this is real? We're all living our lives according to all these rules. We're making very difficult decisions, maybe with blood or, whatever, how we parent. Um, and then we start having loss in our current life because of these really tough decisions. And it's like, you're just not really trained to go, oh, if I'm going to have these really difficult decisions to make, I better be damn sure this is the actual truth.
Hmm.
But that's not part of the coursework
Yeah.
when you start learning, and so it's really sad. I remember, my mom passed away of cancer, and it was definitely a goal of mine to see her in the new system. So I got baptized, trials and tribulations, with family that were out, with my father, and his issues. And it's like, but if I can just stay the heading, I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna see her again. Um, and it's just there's just no proof to back up that's real. So it's really challenging. You're at a tough point in kind of our conversation with here. You're kind of at the point now with what we're talking where you're starting to kind of see the cracks. Can you talk a little bit about where you are in that point of your journey where you start to kind of unravel a little bit?
Um, you talking about in the book where?
Well, just in the book or your life, like you've got baptized, you're in, but you're starting to doubt, you're starting to ask questions, you're starting to write these poems, asking your sister, some things. Can you kind of talk about that portion of your life?
So
Like
I
what
don't.
leaving was like for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I had the doubts pretty well squashed down, but I had really, really bad depression and something needed to be done. So I learned of ketamine therapy. And I was a little scared of it because it messes with your brain, and everybody would, the big fear was that it was going to make me leave Jehovah because it would make me go psycho or whatever. But I was in this predicament where if I didn't do something because medicine wasn't working, working out wasn't working, therapy wasn't working, and I was gonna give up, if I didn't do something, I figured I was gonna end up taking my life. And then what kind of witness would that be for Jehovah if a witness takes their life? Because then that proves it's not the best life ever. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? I prayed about it. It felt like everything fell into place perfectly. So I decided it was worth it, that Jehovah would rather have me alive than he would me not be here. So I went ahead and I did the ketamine therapy. The thing about the ketamine therapy is you cannot keep your doubts down because you're going to be shown yourself objectively. You are going to be shown it all. You are going to be asking the questions. And I remember the ketamine trip that I was in when, and I write about, I kind of blended all my ketamine trips into one chapter rather than writing about every single one. But the one where the little, I don't know why it was the Bowtruckle, but the dang Bowtruckle from Fantastic Beasts came out from the wall and was like, he's lying to you, talking about Jehovah. And then I was like, I was seeing all the 12 disciples fighting with each other, and I was like, this is all the different religions. They all think they're right. And I was like, no, I can't wake up. Oh my God, I can't wake up. And that happened just before Christmas of 2023. So I came out of that thing panicked and reeling because I was just like given like I was just water hosed with all of my doubts in one sitting, and I could not fight them. I was like, you know what? The witnesses do go beyond what's written in several instances. They're just like the Pharisees that heap unnecessary loads on people and make their burden way too hard to carry. And um I asked my husband if we could celebrate Christmas secretly. That's a fun chapter in the book.
That was a
and
fun.
then and then yeah, I had so many panic attacks. My leaving was, I didn't know if I was going to survive it because it felt like somebody just yanked out a vital organ and I was just bleeding out and needed to figure out how to patch that up as fast as possible. Cause like I just lost my faith. I loved Jehovah. Like it broke my heart. Um, it was such a wild experience. And then my family was pretty sure that I was going crazy again. Like my children, as much as they wanted me out of the religion, they were scared of change. They want mommy to have all the answers. And for so long I was so sure I had all the answers and that gave them confidence. But now I'm going back on everything that I said. So that was scary for them also. But yeah, it was absolutely the ketamine therapy that caused this huge wake up. And that was the start. And by early 2024, I was like, I want out, remove me. I just told them to remove me.
So you disassociated?
I got myself disfellowshipped. I told them to. Um, I just knew that even if Jehovah was real and it was the right religion, it wasn't worth it because he did not love me as much as I loved my own children or as much as my husband loved me. Because look at all that my husband put up with. I write about it. It's like Jehovah needed me to be this perfect person to be lovable to him. and he needed me to make all these changes for me to be lovable to him, but my husband loved me through all of the changes that he didn't like, you know.
Yeah.
While Jehovah would hate you for doing things he doesn't like, my husband managed to love me through things he didn't like.
Yeah. Yeah, your
Very
husband,
good
yeah,
points.
husband seems like a good dude. Do you recall, so obviously there's an aftermath. So you've gotten to this point, you've got disfellowshipped, you made the decision. Was any regret? Was there a void? What was kind of life like emotionally and practically after that?
I mean, that's why I put the book in different stages, because there is that, it feels like being shoved out of an airplane with no parachute, to lose your faith, and you're not even sure, is there nothing, are you okay with there being nothing, is God just really an awful God? Like my mind was spiraling, I was experiencing like derealization. Like I remember sitting in the tub one time and my legs just disappeared because I was
Mm,
just going through it so much. It was extremely emotional. I had, I would say, the whole first year being out of the religion was very traumatic, very stressful. And if it wasn't for me creating content on TikTok and interacting and seeing what other people were posting, I would not have made as much progress as I did. And I dealt by writing all those poems. And
yeah.
it's funny because the poems all have a mood. They're you're second guessing yourself. Have I made a horrible mistake? Am I going to be the cause of everybody losing their life? But then at the end, you're angry and you're just like, you know what? F you. This is messed up. You hurt me. The religion, God. I literally targeted Jehovah himself, being upset with him, even though I don't see him as real anymore. I just needed to get out all those emotions at all the right people or what have you.
So expression really helped you navigate some of that, just being
For
able
sure.
to write and I don't even know what the word is, perform on TikTok? I don't know what, but just being able to have that outlet. And did you find that you also started to get a community through having your accounts?
Yes, for sure. I have a lot of regular interactions. I've made quite a few friends through social media. I'm rather introverted in real life. I isolate, and I kind of like the protection of social media because I can have these relationships, but there's that
Yeah.
it doesn't really go beyond social media because it is very hard for me to make relationships with new people at this point after everything I've gone on in my life. But I absolutely love the friends and community, and I love to support them, and they support me, and it's been very helpful.
Well, it's no doubt, like, I'm pretty introverted too, but it's no doubt, like, everything you went through, like, you just hope that you kinda keep down that path and keep going. Um, I definitely appreciate you or anyone that starts to put themselves out there. It's just great knowing that there's other people. And it's also great. It's like everyone's kind of expressing in their own way as well. It's just really great to see. And the thing I always think about when we have conversations, I don't know, like it's some heavy shit you went through, Corey. Like it's a lot, and so I'm really grateful for you to kind of talk about your journey, write about it. Obviously, I assume there's still, unpacking to do, navigation to do, because it's only been a year or so. Um, but it's difficult. What, so in terms of people like no family access other than your kind of immediate kiddos and your husband, and then friends that you had in the congregation, they're all, where you at with all of them? They're gone.
Um, I with the friends in the congregation, I don't miss them, um, because I've met many people in my life and then they've been gone. So I just kind of look at it like that. Like I went to churches before I was a witness and belonged to churches, and I don't even talk to any of those people anymore. I don't really grieve them. I only grieve my sister, but I'm very good, unfortunately, because my life taught me how at compartmentalizing. A lot of
Yeah.
times I can't even access my own grief about things because I've got it locked up so well. But my family is my husband and I have 4 children, and I have 3 stepsons. I see more of the 2 stepsons than and their wives and their children than the oldest. Um, that's my family. That's my focus. I have my husband's family, especially my niece is very important to me on his side of the family. And then I have a couple of friends that I've had for a long time, but I've cut off family that wasn't even witnesses because
Yeah.
after I got out of this religion and I realized just how toxic and unhealthy my family was, I was tired of people that were making me earn their love because
Mm.
I wasn't gonna put up with earning anybody's love. So I lost an aunt for writing the book. She
Oh.
was furious. She said I was writing about her mother and her sister, and I had no right. We had a disagreement there. But yeah, I have a very small circle, but a good
Yeah,
one.
and that's okay. Yeah, it's quality over quantity. Yeah, I've had people not enjoy the podcast because we have real conversations.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, you kind of put your story out there, or you interview people where they're telling their version of their life. That yeah, sometimes that stuff's going to come out there, and it's like you would hope someone would be in a good mental state to understand like this is their life. It's unfortunate that I am roughly a part of it. But those are not healthy people. They're
Yeah.
they're not where they should be. And yeah, the big B I thought about learning those boundaries. It's huge. Um, so
I'm
what?
curious. I'm
Go ahead.
curious, real quick, about how your depression is these days. Like since you've left, I understand in the beginning it must have been real tough, but how is it lately?
Well, I think my depression started after my fourth child. It was probably a bit of postpartum and it was a bit of my life catching up with me. Um, so I feel like I did ketamine therapies for like a year. Um, you get a big dose in the beginning and then you kind of have boosters. But I'm to a point where because I've done other things, I'm over 40. I've gotten some hormonal balance and help like that, and I've done some therapy, and I feel like I am finally just joyful. I even here very, very recently, I was able to get satisfaction at cleaning my house and making a meal. And that may seem like nothing to so many people, but when you're want to end your life depressed and every single thing just feels like monotony and like dragging an elephant because it has to get done, but there is absolutely no satisfaction in doing anything, not even things that you used to love, it's just glorious to enjoy washing dishes and see that the sink is clean.
Mm,
I feel like I'm doing worlds better. My advice to anybody who has depression is to not give up on yourself and to treat it very, I guess, logically. Like, okay, this doesn't work, we'll move on. This doesn't work, we'll move on. But just keep looking for what works because something different works for everybody. Just don't give up because the joy that I feel now is more than I ever felt before I was depressed. It's joy and gratitude to even be here and feel as good as I do.
I'm
that's
so glad
great.
to hear that.
That's great advice. I think you mentioned a great word, gratitude. You can easily find gratitude in whatever way works for you at the biggest or smallest things. Um, but if you don't have the mentality to look to be grateful for what you have, it's hard to envision that life of being grateful. So gratitude's huge. Are you still in therapy? If you don't mind me asking, or was that just?
I'm not. Therapy has never been great for me. I'm too, they say I'm too self aware. I just go in there and they don't got nothing, they don't have anything to tell me except for rarely. I think in all the therapy I've done in my whole life, and I had to do it, it was court ordered as a child. I might have gotten a handful of good tidbits
Hmm.
that I didn't think of, but I'm painfully self aware.
What is your version of therapy now?
um, I am a very blessed woman. My husband works, my children are grown. I get to stay home and craft and create. I always like to be creating something. So whether I'm writing a book or I'm blinging a cup or um,
Yeah. A
building a
shoe.
dollhouse or whatever. I just like to be creating something, or my social media. I enjoy putting something out there that brightens somebody's day. That's fun. I just am relaxing. I am just enjoying a peaceful stage of life.
You deserve
That's
it.
my therapy. Allowing myself to rest and not expecting more of myself, I guess. And my husband makes it possible. Not everybody has that, but he makes it possible.
That's great. No, it's you have to allow like I think it's difficult for people to understand. It's like the J Dubs you are on all the time.
Hmm.
So giving yourself a moment of rest, it's totally like you gotta take that breath, you know. And I think creation and putting stuff out there is huge. I'm glad your husband's available to allow you to kind of be in that space. So as we close out, I've really enjoyed chatting with you. It's been really great to kind of pick your brain on some of these additional things, and I don't know. I guess what's next for you? Like, where do you kind of see like or hope that your kind of life journey goes? What are you looking forward to in these next phases?
Well, I think I want to write more books, but not necessarily about Jehovah's Witness. Just some fiction books. And I just enjoy being a housewife. I enjoy being a wife. I enjoy being a mother. I enjoy keeping a home. Um, I hope I get to travel more. I hope maybe I can build some sort of career through writing and helping others through social media, but I don't really expect it. I'm just here to enjoy the rest of my life and take it easy without being having demands and what have you, because absolutely being a witness was very demanding. Being a mother of small children and homeschooling was very demanding. Being a child with my childhood was very demanding. So now
Yeah,
I'm just here to just enjoy existing, enjoy life, enjoy the little
I, lo-
things.
I love it. Where do you, yeah, I guess as we close out, any final thoughts maybe for people that are listening? I kind of view it, I think people at all walks of life could be listening. People who are PMO, they're kind of starting to wake up. There might be people that are just curious. They've never been around Jehovah's Witnesses or high control groups or cults. Do you have any kind of words for them that for people that might be listening?
Uh, do exactly what they told you not to do. Trust your heart, trust your mind, go with your intuition, you know, choose yourself, always be kind. But definitely you have to take care of yourself because you're the only one who's going to be with you from start to finish. Um,
No,
but yeah,
no doubt. Any Trent, any thoughts on as we close?
No, I just want to say thanks. Appreciated having you here, getting to know you a little bit. Do you want to tell our listeners where to find you on TikTok or Instagram?
sure. I am 444 Corelise. That's Corelyse 888 on both TikTok and Instagram.
Cool.
Great. We'll put all that stuff in the notes. And yeah, it's been a great experience to get to know you a little more. Thank you again for putting yourself out there, both in your writings and online and with us on this chat today. For all our listeners, thanks so much for listening and being with us on this chat. And we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you for joining us on this journey in this era. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who might need it. Check the podcast description for our socials and other information.
Please consider supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/culturepod. If you'd like to tell your story, please contact us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay free.